Welcome to an episode of the Sports Genes Into the Lab podcast, where sports analysts and experts dissect the latest news from the NBA and NFL, giving you a unique view on some of the hottest topics around your favorite teams. From the fresh field smells of the NFL to the hardwood courts of the NBA, and possibly your comfy couch for your fantasy football team. Let's see what kind of news the lab is working with today. Here's your host from the Sports Analytics headquarters in San Antonio, Texas, Ernest Silva.
What is going on, guys? We've got breaking news happening in the NBA on a Houston Rockets night, prime the week before the NBA draft is happening. That's right, we are back. Three of your favorite sports scientists as of late. But let's talk about the man, the myth, the legend, the two-time ITL Pick'em champion. That is right, Kenny Cotterill. What's going on, buddy?
Hello there. Hold the applause. Yes, I am here once again. Pretty much the new co-host. We'll probably announce that in the coming weeks. Really just excited to chat about some NBA, some NFL, whatever it is. I am a sports maestro, so I'll be fine either way. So let's have ourselves a good night.
Absolutely no NFL tonight. It's all NBA action. You might know him as Eric Digital. Others know him as Eric. We know him as the Godfather. What's going on, Eric?
Hey, what's up, Ernest? Thanks for bringing me on the show. Let's have some fun today. Let's talk some shop. As I promised before, I'll be on the show a little bit more frequently. So let's have some fun today.
Awesome. As we have breaking news, we're just going to be updating, trying to get all the details. Christian Wood, breaking news. Christian Wood is gone. He's no longer a Houston Rocket. Sound the alarm. He is going to Dallas. So just going up the street here in the Lone Star State. We're going to talk more details on that trade as more becomes available. We know it's a multi-player trade and a draft pick of this year's caliber in the first round coming back to Houston. Probably more things happening for Houston later on tonight or this upcoming week. But we're going to start off with all NBA action tonight. But guys, trust me, that is not a glitch happening across your screen. That is right. That is our sponsor for tonight's show, Glitch Energy. That's right, glitchenergy.com. Glitch with a Y is where you can go, glitchenergy.com. Use the code BCMG for Blue Collar Media Group, the sponsor of tonight's show, on glitchenergy.com, 25% off your order today. All right. So we talked about the NBA action. We are going to be talking all hoops in August. That's right. The ITL Hoopathon, the second annual ITL Hoopathon happening in Cape Cod. It's powered by BCMG, but brought to you by Into the Lab. We are going to be working with Triple Double, our main sponsor here in Texas, as well as the Sims Academy. Courtney Sims, the MVP, former MVP of the G League himself, his academy. The all-stars of that team versus Triple Double Basketball, one of our main sponsors for ITL, up at Cape Cod. Go check us out. Donate, save up, donate online or donate in person there at the Hoopathon in Cape Cod. All right. Round one, we're going straight to the NBA Finals, and then we're going to jump into some of that free agency action that's happening and some of these trades going on as we are keeping our information and inside takes going. Let's talk NBA Finals. Eric, I'm starting off with you. Warriors lead 3-2. You told me earlier Warriors in 6. What gives you the confidence in that?
Hey, we're going to have game 6 tomorrow night. Klay Thompson's going to come out on fire. Klay Thompson's picking up his game, as I mentioned previously. This is going to be a contest, though. So I still think Warriors in 6.
Kenny, are you as sold about the Warriors in 6 as Eric is, or is this a game 7 no matter what?
Well, I had Boston in 6, so that's mathematically impossible at this point. Still hopeful of 7, but that was not a great game 5 by any stretch of the imagination. Boston's bench is non-existent the last couple games. Turnover-wise, they're brutal. Like Draymond Green's averaging a triple single and like they're leading 3-2. So I don't know. I do think Boston's going to win 6, but game 7, I mean, at that point, like it's any man's game. Like you could have the Warriors. What's crazy is that they won game 5 and the Warriors were like 25% from 3. Like it was a terrible shooting night for them and they still won. So I'm a bit concerned. I'll stand by Boston. I never thought I'd say that in my life, but I'm in a lose-lose here with this series. So, yeah, I think they win 6. After that, I would have to tend to lean the Warriors at home for a game 7, but you never know.
Yeah, I actually really like that there's going to be a game 7. I'm going to take Boston to win game 6. I think Boston won't lose on their home floor, but I said it in the beginning of this series that if it goes to 7, you just don't beat Golden State in 7 games in the NBA Finals. It's just almost impossible until I read a very fun fact today.
Was it that they blew a 3-1 series lead?
No, is that Jason Tatum has not lost a game 7 the last 4 attempts by other teams, except when he lost in his rookie season to LeBron James. So Tatum is 4-0 since losing to LeBron James, and the Warriors are like invincible in game 7. So it's going to be crazy. All we need is Scott Foster to be the referee. That's it. And then we can really see what's going to happen. Because
I just want this to go 7 because it's been as advertised. Like, this is a really good NBA Finals. Like, I know that it's no Kings versus Cavs, but like, this has been a really great NBA Finals matchup, and I don't know how anyone could possibly think that this was a boring Finals coming into it.
It's a great Finals.
I don't know. I think it needs to be like a 15-game series, according to TJ McKinley. TJ, shout out to you.
10-game series.
10 game.
It doesn't make any sense. It ends in a tie, but yeah.
I was expanding it a bit. That way he could get a little bit more action for the Finals. But we all know this is going to be over this week. Somehow, some way, we're going to have a champion that maybe, hopefully, Steve cares about. But guys, if you had to think about the Warriors winning or the Celtics winning, either way, however you want to see it, if it ended today, who's the Finals MVP in your eyes? And I'll start this one off with you, Kenny. Who's your Finals MVP currently?
If I have to pick someone, it has to be Steph because they're leading 3-2. Like, I think if it goes the Boston way, like coming into this series, like I do a betting show, so I was looking at the betting lines coming in. Like, it was basically like Steph was minus like 130 and like Tatum was plus 100. And then the next closest guy is like plus 900. So coming into it, they're expecting it's either going to be Steph or it's going to be Tatum. I thought Brown had a shot to take it from him if Boston pulled it out, and then he was terrible in game 5. And then everyone keeps pointing to like Wiggins for his game 5 performance, which was great. He was the athlete of the day on my own show, but it's still Steph. Like, it's still Steph. He had 43 and 10. Like, game 1, he had like 21 in the first quarter. Like, it should be Steph if it is Golden State that wins this, and it should be Tatum if Boston wins.
Yeah, I don't agree with your take, but I'm going to go to Eric before I give you mine. Eric.
Kenny brings up a very good point. I mean, Steph Curry's been going off, but my MVP, if it ended today, would be Andrew Wiggins. Hey, he is providing so much for them, and they are. Thompson has not been the best. Curry had a terrible game 5. And like to your point, he's averaging a single, what would you say, triple double? Yeah, triple single. Green has made almost no impact in this Finals other than his foul trouble. Wiggins has stepped up. And I know he's not going to get it, but I think Wiggins deserves it.
Yeah, if Boston ends up winning this series, all Jason Tatum all day long. I don't think it's hands down Jason Tatum. I'm going to troll a bit here. I think that if it's the Warriors, you have to give it to Draymond Green. There's no other person that had the theatrics or heart other than Draymond Green for the Golden State Warriors. And if it's not Draymond Green, it's Andrew Wiggins. And then in a far distant third, it's Steph Curry. I don't care if he scored 43 points in one game. He's not the Finals MVP. The Finals MVP is somebody who's a two-way player that's had impacts on both sides of the court. And that's, to me, is more Andrew Wiggins than it is Steph Curry.
You can't honestly tell me watching those games that like Clay's not just missing a lot of wide open shots, because he is missing a lot of open shots.
Well, yeah, because I saw him 3 for 17. Like, yeah, absolutely.
But who has stepped in for Clay? Who has stepped in for Green?
Who stepped in for them?
Yeah.
Jordan Poole's been good throughout. Gary Payton Jr. has been good. I know, but I'm just saying, like, if we're talking about who's contributing, like, this is an all-out Warriors effort. Like, you just have to look at their box score, and it's usually, like, 5 guys minimum are double-digit points, sometimes 6, depending on what happens with Payton. And, like, Steph's been the main catalyst of that. They lose that game 4 if it's not for Steph, and we're talking about a completely different Finals here where they're down 3-2 heading to Boston. So I think when you factor that in, just because Steph didn't shoot great in game 5 doesn't mean that he played a bad game. If you watch that game, he was contributing from the distributing standpoint.
Completely
He was
agree.
playing some good defense. Like, I do think that we're not giving Steph enough credit. I think we're prisoners of the moment where we're like, oh, Wiggins was great in game 5. And now we talk about his defense and like, oh my God, is Wiggins the finals MVP? It's still Steph. It's still Tatum. It's a superstar driven league. And let's also face facts that the NBA is not going to give it to anyone but Steph after they gave it to Iguodala. Like, I just don't see a situation where that happens.
Yeah, I think if Golden State wins, that's I think I told this to Eric offline. I said the storyline is if Warriors win, it's Steph no matter what. Like,
Yeah.
nobody can step in unless Wiggins goes off for 40 and 40 in game 6 and 7. Then how do you deny it, right?
Or
like that's your
Great point.
your guy. Let's move on here. So Jason Tatum has been the subject of conversation for most sports outlets, talking about the downsides of how he's played terrible on bad losses and how he hasn't really been that contributing star role except for one game for Boston's wins. Eric, I'm going to start with you on this one. Has Tatum shied away from the moment here in the finals for you?
He has. He's a much better player than what he's currently broadcasting. I think it just needs more experience. Once he continues playing during his career, he's going to gain more experience and get better. I think this is just a hiccup, and if he continues like this, then Warriors in 6.
What about for you, Kenny? Is Tatum just shied away from the spotlight for you, or is it a mixture of just the Warriors have that second best defense in the league?
I think we don't see Tatum scoring 35, and we think that he's been like terrible. Like, I don't think he's been terrible from like an overall play standpoint. Has he not scored as efficiently as you'd like? Sure. But
Probably.
Has he distributed well? Yes. Has he played good defense throughout the series? Yes. Has he contributed on the rebounding side? Yes. Like, I think he's doing all of the other things that need to be done in order to win. It's just when the shooting numbers aren't there, then you look at it like just from a box score perspective and you're like, oh, well, he hasn't lived up to it. Like, but he's been great throughout the playoffs. I do think he needs to be very good in game 6 for them to win. Like, if there is a team that can go in and win in Boston in game 6, it would be Golden State. But I do see kind of a Tatum emergence game here where he goes for 30 plus, and he's had some great games throughout this finals. It's just, once again, we go back to game 4. What hurt him was like he didn't score for the last 10 minutes. And it's like, oh my God, like how do you do that as a star player? And game 5, he also like some bad turnovers and stuff. So I would have liked to have seen him be a bit more consistent down the stretch, but for 3.5 quarters throughout this whole finals, he's been really good.
Yeah, I think when you think of some of the greats, like in the finals, its efficiency is not really measured. It's their ability to hit shots in big moments. And there have been moments where Jason Tatum makes key possessions, both bad and good, right, in the finals. And those are going to be magnified tenfold. But you've seen Kobe Bryant games where he goes 9 for 26 and has 24 points, but he hit 2 clutch shots to win it within a minute left, right? And you're like, he's the greatest, even though his efficiency was like the worst on the team. And that's just what great players do. So I think Tatum will get the brunt of the critiques because when they lose, he's going to look really bad. But when they win, even if he's not efficient, they say he's clutch. So,
I think what hurts him too is that he's been settling a lot. Like, what was the key for Boston early on? It was that they kept taking it to the paint because that's where Golden State's at their weakest. You need to drive to the rim, and Tatum has the size to do that. And so I think that's what's so frustrating is you watch Marcus Smart and he's like bullying Steph down low, laying it in. And you're like, Jason, why are you settling for that step back mid-range, the fading? Like you don't need to, I get it. You got the Kobe armband on, but at a certain point, like you got to stop thinking you're Kobe with the fade and start getting to the rim. And I think that's a reason why his shooting numbers are as inefficient as they are too, because he keeps settling for these bad looks.
Correct. It just feels like he can't get there for some reason, but he just settles. I want to understand, and hopefully,
like when he's hitting them, you're like, oh my God, Tatum, he's a superstar. Like this guy's so good. But then he goes cold, and you're like, why are you doing the step back 3 with like 12 seconds left on the shot clock? Like, go get a better look. I think that's what's more so upsetting watching it.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, and I think the big thing is for the Celtics, defense was so key for them in transition offense. He has a number 1 PER, Jason Tatum. In half court offense, he's like 167th.
Yeah.
Like that's just clue. If they cannot get defensive stops, the Celtics get stuck in the mud when it comes to Jason Tatum. But let's move on. I want to talk about the controversial Draymond Green, who had a comeback game in Game 5. Had a lot of controversy with his show, recording a podcast right after Game 4, and then immediately coming back with his game. Kenny, as a podcast, with both of us having our podcast, the Competitive Hedge podcast, and then, of course, Into the Lab, you got to admit, we shouldn't put down anybody who wants to start a show, who wants to cover their own stuff, especially somebody who's a star. But is there like some critique to this, battling back to the media, saying, what are you fishing for, and not answering certain questions because he wants it on his show? I mean, doesn't it feel like a double standard with the NBA that you should be answering questions, but then you don't? Like, how do you feel about that?
I don't know, like the whole thing with like Draymond and podcasting throughout, like I don't have a major issue with it because he made a valuable point where he's like, what do you want me to do after I go and lose? Do you want me to go and sit in my hotel room and watch the film, which I'm going to do anyways? Do you want me to go and sit there and be down and be upset that we lost? Or I could just do my own podcast? Because let's face it, like Draymond's been on TNT throughout the playoffs, throughout the regular season. Right. Like he's setting himself up for life after basketball to be a media personality is what it is, because we're already starting to see the decline of Draymond. He's not going to play until he's 40. He's probably going to be done by the time he's 35, and that's going to be fine. So I don't know. I don't have a major issue with like what he's doing. Like I think people point to everything. Like we go back to MJ. MJ went off to gamble in a casino after they lost to the Knicks a couple games, and they were like, wow, Jordan's not taking this series seriously. And he's just like, I just wanted to get out of the city, go with my dad and gamble a bit. What do? They come back and win. So everyone forgets it when it happens. No one would have an issue with him podcasting if they swept him. They got an issue when he loses and he plays poorly. I mean, his own mom's upset. His mom was tweeting about what the hell happened to Draymond, which is
like that's not him, but he's
hilarious.
Okay. No COVID.
But I don't know. I don't see a major issue with it. I think we take issue with it because he's not playing great basketball. But what do we expect? Like Draymond, his entire career hasn't been a stat filler. He's always been like, even when he's been all-star, it was like 14, 8, and 7. And you're like, well, that's all right. Like he gets in because he's on Golden State and he plays good defense too. So I don't know. I don't take a major issue with it. Like I think he's been terrible in this finals from the offensive side. Defensively, he's been okay.
It's just not what he's there to do, right? Fill your role, play your game. I mean, he will hit a 3 this game. Like it's going to happen, guys. He's an NBA player. But
we talked about the fact that they have 6 guys that can score double-digit points. What do we need Draymond to go and score for? You don't.
Dennis Rodman didn't have to hit 3s, guys. He just had to have crazy hair. Eric, I'll let you finish off this segment. How do you feel about Draymond?
I'm with Kenny. I mean, I personally don't have a lot to say because I don't have a podcast. But if you want to do a podcast after a loss, feel free.
What are you talking about, Eric? This is just as much your podcast as it is mine.
Stop it. I'm sorry, Kenny. I guess I'm the co-host now.
Yeah.
First, on the
damn
video.
it! I lost the co-host again. What the hell?
And you're not on the
video. I'm not the co-host. Like, what are we doing here?
So it looks like it's coming out. We're gonna break the news now here on Into the Lab. That is right. Christian Wood has been traded from the Houston Rockets to the Dallas Mavericks, including 4 players: Trey Burke, Sterling Brown, Bill Boban, and Marquise Chris. I think 2 of those players making their return back to Houston, and Marquise Chris and Sterling Brown from recent seasons, and most importantly, the 26th overall pick going to Houston. Other breaking news is that Houston is packaging the 17th and the 26th in another trade, looking to move up in the draft, which we had just talked about before the show, that was what was going to happen. That's been leaked. There must be another trade on the table, so hopefully more breaking news coming out. My secret bets are Portland. That's my secret bet. So if it happens, you heard it here first on ITL. I think there's a player Portland wants, and I think we can package some picks and make it enticing. Luke says he just hopes both teams have fun in the finals. Thanks, Luke. Appreciate you, man. I know it's an NBA episode and you're not coming on, so I'm glad to see you there. But yes, so we were dissecting this and we had a lot of conversation about this. I told people were messaging me on the side. I said, just come watch the show. We're going live in a moment. So here we go. Let's talk about this trade. I love this trade for the Houston Rockets, and I'm going to tell you why in just a moment. Kenny, you are slightly agreeing with me. I believe Eric was too, but let's start this off with what you have in Christian Wood and why Dallas even makes this trade. Christian Wood is something similar to what a Kristaps Porzingis was, right? He's a younger player than Kristaps, but he definitely has the offensive arsenal at his disposal, but the defensive liability you have around the perimeter and the defensive liability provided was the issue. He's a walking 2012. It's just hard to keep that defense from getting exposed. Kenny, you like it for Dallas though, right?
Yeah, I think it's really good for Dallas. Like, we start talking contracts wise, it's like 4 players worth $11 million you shipped out. You're going to bring in Wood on like a pretty friendly deal, like for what he can produce. And so if you're Dallas, like this just begs the question of like, okay, what other move are you going to make this summer? Because the deal can't just be we're going Luka and we're going Christian Wood. Tim Hardaway was hurt. We'll bring him back. We got shooters and whatever. That can't be the end goal. And does that mean you're paying Jalen Brunson? Okay, that would be fine, I think. Or are you potentially looking at another team's player that might be unhappy, that might be looking to get paid somewhere? And Dallas, they don't have the most room in order to do it, but I think a sign and trade is possible if you're sitting in Dallas's shoes. And you have the player personnel, I think, in order to do that. There's a lot of younger guys, but there's also a lot of like solid pros. And so I think if you're Dallas at this juncture, you just had a great year. You went all the way to the Western Conference Finals, but you clearly didn't have enough because you lost in 5. So it can't just be Christian Wood. That doesn't take you past the Warriors. That doesn't take you past some other teams. Now you got to go and make that other trade or that other signing that's going to actually push you over the top, because you got a star in his prime that now has a second guy, but that could be your third guy. Christian Wood, I don't think that can be your second guy to win a title. I think that can be your third, though.
And just to clear it there, right? Christian Wood on a $14 million deal on the last year of his contract. They did get the bird rights in the trade, so they have full rights if Christian Wood would have a contract season, right? Just go off. They can give him the max. Eric, I think you were going to ask who would be that third star, right? And that's a great question. We can go around the league and see which ones are available for that. And talk about that in a minute. But let's talk about the Houston side of this trade. Houston gets back Trey Burke. That's $3 million. Sterling Brown, $3 million. Boban, $3 million. And Marquise Chris, $2 million. You're looking at about $11 million in contracts coming back to Houston, and the 26 overall that's valued at about $3.5 million. But the big piece to that is that Houston gets all 4 players on contract years 2. So no money coming off the books for extension purposes for their big rookies from last season, and for any potential rookies they get this year or next year. That's huge for the Rockets. Tons of flexibility, not to mention the fact that John Wall's $47 million is the last year of his contract, so that rolls off your salary cap hit. Now you're looking at something like, aside from any extensions from any of your big stars you have on the team, 1 max player and some big assets coming back to Houston, which is going to be a prime run for Jalen Green, Kevin Porter Jr., and whoever else is left on this Houston Rockets team. It also frees up the opening starting spot to Alperen Sengun, the 3rd place Rookie of the Year runner-up for last season. Kenny smiles because he was so happy to see Sengun in that 3rd place spot right behind Jalen Green and Rookie of the Year. Who even knows
Josh
who won
Christopher?
last year? Josh Christopher is 4th. It's a damn shame. It's a damn shame. But guys, let's talk about the Rockets side of things. We all liked it, right? And I especially liked it as a Rockets fan and going to be in the war room next Thursday. I'm excited to see what they're going to do here. The rumor of packaging 17 and 26 and moving up, I've had my eye set on number 7 Portland for a number of reasons. And you hit the nail on the head there, Kenny. The Duke duo. That's what I want. I want that in Houston. I want the Paolo Griffin duo to hit Houston and fill the young core. For you, let's say they don't package and they have 17 and 26. You said there could be players that fall there, and that's what you would be aiming for. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I do think that this is a pretty good draft, like top to bottom. Like I'm putting together my big board and stuff because I'm hosting our draft show next week for my other network. But when I look at like who's at 17, you're looking at Agbaji, who just won a national title. You're looking at Ty Washington. You're even looking at Nikola Jovic, not Jokic, but it's super close. Actually, it's a dream of mine that he gets drafted to Denver. I think that would be incredible if he fell, because I think Jokic and Jovic on the same team would be great. But you even have guys like Kennedy Chandler there. So those are good picks that you can get there. You go later in the first, you're looking at Patrick Baldwin, a guy who is a very highly touted prospect who chose Milwaukee over Duke and is probably very much regretting playing for his dad, given their record. But then you've also got Travion Williams, Walker Kessler. There's a lot. So I think you're more likely to take those two picks to move up, because I think you want to get into that top 10. Like, even if it's not the Duke duo, you could even look at a Keegan Murray. You could look at a Dyson Daniels. You could be looking at Benedict Mathurin if he falls. Like, I think that there's a lot of potential there. So I do think that Houston made a good move here, because at the end of the day, you added a draft pick, and that's what you want right now. You're going to build behind veterans like John Wall and Eric Gordon and the young core. And I had to name those two because those are the only veterans on your roster. So
Jayshawn Tate.
Jayshawn Tate, 26-year-old Jayshawn Tate, the veteran that you guys have there. So, no, I think Houston's in a good spot. I love this trade for both teams. I think it solves what they need. And I don't know, if it does end up being the Duke duo, the Rockets might become my second team. So we'll see on draft night.
How could you not be co-host for season 4?
It'll be my second team, because
Kenny,
those two.
Here's my formal announcement. Okay, if the Duke duo goes to Houston, you're co-host next season of ITL.
I'm in.
It's done. Ring those alarms, everybody. BCMG guarantee competitive hedge and ITL teams up for season 4. I can't wait. For those of you who are saying, the Rockets got chump change for Christian Wood, right? On paper, it's chump change. It absolutely is, right? Who you get at 26 is who the value is in that trade, unless you really like personalities, and Boban was easily the better choice out of all of them. But if you have to think about what the Rockets got back, right, this is all chess. And for those who are playing checkers and wanting assets back for Christian Wood, this wasn't it, right? But if you package 17 and 26 together and move up in the draft, and we're able to get a lottery pick out of it in this, and that's what you measure the trade on. Your ability to cut all those salaries next season, get a lottery pick for Christian Wood. That is the trade. So hold on. It's not a final evaluation. If you said, hey, on paper, Rockets look like they got an F for this trade, right now you're probably saying F pending. And then what they do with the rest of it is probably where you're going to give your grade. So just wait, right?
D pending.
Yeah. Victor's on the way. All right, let's move on to round number 2. That's right. We're going to go NBA free agency. And of course, you might have heard the term better together. Well, we have a video for you as to what that means. Kenny's not in that video yet, but he will be as the future co-host of ITL.
I'm not better together yet.
But let's see what better together is for Blue Collar Media Group.
Happy Thursday, y'all. Happy Thursday.
I'm your host, Andrew Kahn. This is the Boomtown Pod.
Add into the Lab Pod is where you're watching today's stream.
Stuck him!
It is Blue Collar Game Day. I am your host.
I got a kill!
Welcome to episode 277 of the Official Butthole Podcast.
Get him.
Got him.
Beautiful.
Better together.
Better together.
We're better together.
Better together.
Better together.
That's right. Better together. BCMG Blue Collar Media Group, proud sponsors and great great company to be a part of. We ask you guys to join, be a part, get your voice heard, become a podcast, become a person on the show. Eric and I were just talking one day at work, and he was like, "What does that even mean, BCMG? And what do you do?" Now he's on here as a regular. Like, it just happens, guys. So be a part of the action. Come talk some NBA free agency, which is where we are going. That's right. We got some big names to talk about. We're gonna run through these and then talk about some of the bigger names that maybe are on our radar. As NBA enthusiasts, let's start with Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal is starting for which team next season? Let's go around the room. For me, I believe he's back in Washington as the man. I think he signs the big contract, plays for Washington, and leads that team, whatever roster they put together for him. Eric, how do you feel?
I agree with you. I don't think he leaves Washington. He'll get that big contract, keeps the money, and just stays with the team. Hopefully makes a playoff run. Not this season, but in the future.
Beautiful. Kenny.
I'll go, just to play devil's advocate, I'll go a different route with it. So, question for you guys. I don't know if you would know this or not. If he signs that big extension, are they still able to sign and trade him at that point if he takes that massive contract?
He's not eligible to be traded until after February 15th.
Okay, so they can't sign him to the big extension and then move him.
No.
So, I mean, I think Bradley Beal wants the money. Like, isn't it like 5 years, like $250? Like, it's insane money that he'd be leaving on the table. If for whatever reason he leaves on the table, he says, screw it. I'm not playing in Washington anymore. I'm tired of being a Wizard, Bullet, whatever the hell we are here in Washington.
Sentinels.
I'm going to say that he goes to the San Antonio Spurs.
Wow.
Because DeJounte Murray needs a backcourt mate. You've got a team that was completing for the play-in last year. And I think that if he wants to be a part of a group that can win and that can have a chance of win moving forward, because it's certainly not in Washington. Like, oh my God. The fact that they got out from under Davis Bertans is a miracle in itself. So I think the Spurs would be a good up-and-coming group where he still becomes the alpha. DeJounte runs the show from the point guard spot. He's going to average close to a triple-double. And then you might have something in San Antonio, especially since you have a lot of young players there as well. So I'll go with the Spurs. That's probably the last team you thought I was going to say.
Yeah, I didn't think that at all. I thought maybe you were going to lean Portland.
See, the issue with Portland is you don't know what they're doing. And I don't think they know what they're doing because they're like, well, we're going to rebuild because we're shipping out CJ. Okay, well, are you shipping out Lillard too? No. Okay, so are you rebuilding or are you just going to handcuff Lillard here like he's at the end of Space Jam having to play for them for the rest of their life like they were going to do to MJ? Like, that's essentially what they're doing to Lillard in Portland.
And their response to that was, he lost me at handcuff. All right, so let's move on to Kyrie Irving, everybody's favorite player to talk about. Kyrie Irving, where does Kyrie Irving play for next season? I'll start this one off with you, Eric. I started the last one. Where do you think Kyrie Irving ends up next season?
I think he stays in Brooklyn. I don't see him going anywhere else. That's next year. They're going to be pretty dangerous, especially with everyone healthy. I'm going to pull a Kenny. I'll play devil's advocate. If he does leave, I could possibly see him go to maybe like a Chicago, just because of the movement that's going on there. It might not be the right fit. But I could see him going to maybe a Chicago because I don't think he wants to go to a small market team. He has that win now mentality. He doesn't want to wait. So,
Kenny.
I also think that he stays in Brooklyn because I don't know what the hell Brooklyn was thinking if they just
lose two of their big three in one season.
If they did all this to bring Kyrie in to have him half vaxxed, half playing, like whatever the hell he was, oh man. If he does leave, I don't know. Like the rumors in Minnesota are that they don't like D'Lo moving forward. So is there a possibility where you trade D'Lo for Kyrie and you throw in like picks or something so Brooklyn's not completely strung? Because then you could still have D'Lo run the point. You get KD and Ben Simmons as your trio. And then if you're Minnesota, you get an upgrade at point guard. And now you have your big three with Edwards and Towns, who looked pretty good in the playoffs.
I like that. I'm gonna take Eric's a step further, and I'm going to say LaVine signs in Portland and opens Kyrie to Chicago and a Westbrook return to Brooklyn with KD.
Oh my God.
And all of a sudden, LA gets a spot to ramp up, and here comes John Wall to LA.
Don't wish that evil on me. I don't want to hear that.
We could do this.
Okay, I said this when we traded for Westbrook. If you asked me like 5-6 years ago who my 3 least favorite people in the NBA were, it was LeBron, it was AD, and it was Westbrook, and then they were all on my team. Number 4 is John Wall. So that would be like a fresh hell to bring in my next favorite. Like, oh,
it makes
my
sense.
God.
I mean, we know you're not bringing Carmelo back, so obviously Wall's coming
no one
over.
should bring Carmelo back.
Carmelo's obviously going back to Denver. They need him. Michael Porter Jr.'s gone.
Oh, God.
Wait, no, he's still there. No, he's gone. Who got traded?
No, he extended.
That's
they
what I thought.
extended
Okay,
him, and then he had a back issue. That was a real great contract.
Kenny gets to start a fun one now. DeAndre Ayton will be starting for the blank next season. Where is DeAndre Ayton playing?
DeAndre Ayton next year is playing for the Memphis Grizzlies.
Holy crackers, sound the alarm. That's 3 hot takes tonight for Kenny. I don't know where he's pulling these from. Let's hear it. What's the trade?
I want to hear that one.
So it's an interesting one that would probably have to include Jaren Jackson Jr.
Obviously.
Yeah.
You're probably throwing in either Zaire Williams or Desmond Bain in order to make it happen.
Probably.
And then you throw in one of Brandon Clark and Dylan Brooks. Because if you're Phoenix, you really only could go 6 deep in the playoffs consistently. So that makes it so you can go 8. And you can like actually compete with teams, because at a certain point we have to realize that like Chris Paul is on his last legs, and how much longer is he going to keep doing this? And I think this might have been his last year. So if you're thinking future-wise as well, Bain is young, Jackson's young. Let's you revamp your Phoenix team so when Chris Paul's done at the end of this year or next, then you're in a better spot moving forward. Because they're also in that shitty spot of like they can't really afford to pay Ayton. So like you need to figure out contracts-wise. I don't know how all the contracts of those work out that I said, but those would be 3 names that I think if you package them together and you're Phoenix knowing that you can't bring back Ayton, you listen. You at least listen to it.
The two other teams that have been rumored to be heavily rumored in these sign and trade agreements are the Atlanta Hawks, the Portland Trail Blazers, and the Charlotte Hornets. Those are 3 teams heavy in talks with the Suns for a sign and trade deal. Lillard came out publicly and said he would love to play with DeAndre Ayton. I just think that opens up a lot of conversations for multi-team deals. I'm always going to link back to the Houston Rockets. They're the team everybody likes to kind of trade with right now because they're not looking to win, right? They're like the kings of the 2020s right now.
Hey, do you want our 23-year-old that might have some potential? Yeah, sure, we'll take him. We'll throw in a second-round pick. All right, we're in.
Go send him to our G League championship team.
You get the 29th pick in the first round.
You're in. I mean, we're not as bad as the Thunder yet, but we are accumulating picks quite rapidly.
To be honest, we need a whiteboard in the background of just like OKC picks compared to Houston picks.
The connection of picks that we all accumulate. We have like 16 and 18 for the next 4 seasons. We're going to get to a season like in 2025 where it's Houston, Oklahoma City, Houston, Oklahoma City, Houston, Oklahoma City, and Jalen Green.
And next thing you know, Eric Gordon comes back to the Rockets.
Yeah, I think a fun name that we're not going to talk about tonight is Shai, because Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is saying he's done with the rebuilding thing in Oklahoma City, and they're obviously not close to being back in relevancy. So that's something interesting to watch during these trade rumors. But intrigued that Atlanta is not only in the Rudy Gobert talks, but also the DeAndre Ayton talks, because they're obviously looking for a big to upgrade from Collins and Capella. Let's go to a fan favorite of the shows. That's right, James Harden. James Harden came up. I'm going to bring it up. So
did Eric say where Ayton was going?
Did I skip you, Eric?
That's okay.
Nope, it's not okay.
No, where's Ayton going? Where's Ayton
going?
All right. I did say the Jazz, but it could be possibly the Hawks. I see him going to the Hawks for Capella, John Collins, and maybe the 16th.
If we're talking about one that I really like, it's actually one that Ernest mentioned in Charlotte.
Yeah,
I-
I like that a lot.
I think so.
subtly threw
So
it in there.
did they hire their coach?
They hired
Yeah, it's
Skeeter.
They hired Atkinson, didn't they?
Atkinson. It's Atkinson. Yep.
So with Atkinson, if you look at their contract situation for this upcoming season, well, you got Montrezl Harrell off the books, which probably for the best.
Yeah, that's done.
probably for the best, facing 5 years for some pot.
Yeah.
Miles Bridges is up for an extension, but do you keep Bridges knowing that you could get Ayton and knowing that you already have Oubre and Gordon Hayward?
What's Bridges going to cost you, though?
After the season that he just had, 5 years, 170, he's going to get a bag from.
What's
that's
their
expensive,
salary
dude.
cap at though?
So they're currently sitting at 108 without Bridges' contract.
Oh.
So that would basically take them into that territory. So
Yeah.
if you decide, you know what, Bridges, we're letting him walk, then you go the situation where like your rotation moving forward is you've got LaMelo Ball, you've got Oubre, you've got Rozier, you've got Hayward, and then you could have Ayton. And that's your 5. And knowing the way that LaMelo plays, Ayton's kind of that perfect guy to play with LaMelo.
I mean, just know that they're already in the luxury with Bridges. Like,
Well, has he signed his extension though?
no, but when he does, because they have bird rights, it's the only reason they can. But they're already
but
20
that's what I'm
million.
saying. You let him walk. You don't.
Oh, you're
pay him.
saying to let him walk.
Either that, or you have to sign and trade, and you send Hayward back to Phoenix because Hayward's the contract
Right.
here where he's owed 30.
Right.
But you have Kelly Oubre, who's still owed a lot of money. I just saw his contract. She had signed
Well,
Well,
Oubre is
it's only 12.
Oubre is like 12.6, and it's only this year.
So you
this
keep that for
upcoming year, I should say.
flexibility. Yeah, you
But
keep it for
but
flexibility.
if you sign and trade, because you're gonna have to kind of make this work. Like, what's Ayton do? He's probably due 35 million a year. So you send back Hayward to Phoenix.
Hayward
maybe
and
has to throw.
Plumlee.
Well, because then you still have a good, like you get a good player back. Like when Hayward's healthy, he's very good.
We're gonna
So-
get to Harden right now. One
Oh,
second.
he's good. I shouldn't say very good. He's good when
I was
healthy.
gonna say, you're talking about way past when you said that.
Well, he played well until he got hurt this year, but that's kind of been the story of his last
Career.
5 years.
Yeah.
So
That's what he's known for now, unfortunately.
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
like Ayton to Charlotte. I just don't know if there's anything enticing back. You're gonna have to package some picks, a couple of firsts or something, and
if you're
Hayward.
Phoenix, you might listen though. If it's Hayward and some picks,
You
you
might.
know that you can't keep Ayton anyways. You got to get something back.
And then flip it for Rudy. Am I right, Eric? Am I right?
For Rudy.
Or send him to the Jazz, pick up Rudy, and pick up
But
Collins.
this is also where
Conley.
3-team trades come into it, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
maybe Hayward doesn't go to Phoenix, but like a team sends players to Phoenix and Hayward ends up on that third team. Like,
Makes a lot of sense. Just not the Rockets for that one. I don't want anything to do with Hayward. Let's talk James Harden before we go to our final one. James Harden playing for Philly next season. What are the odds of that? Give me a percentage. I'll start off this one. It's 100%. Daryl Morey loves James Harden. He's staying in Philly for me. Eric,
Agreed. He's not gonna leave Philly.
I guess Kenny.
now the question is, what's the percentage that he's going to play there? It's 100. What is the chances that he should play there? It should be 0.
Yeah.
It should be 0 because I looked at the numbers of what his extension is supposed to be. By the time he is 37 years old, he's going to be owed almost $60 million. $60 million for a guy that can't stay in shape. And I've already done this rant on another podcast for about 5 minutes. I lit into the fact that I think this is so stupid. And you're already starting to see it where the Sixers are shopping Tobias and they're shopping Maxey. Those are reports that came out today. First of all, if you're shopping Maxey, then like you've completely lost the plot because he's supposed to be your third guy now who wants to take Tobias and one of the worst contracts in the NBA. So I don't know, Philly, that process, there was a kink in that son of a bitch. throughout it.
Something happened there. There's a kink in that son of a bitch. Sorry, Joel Embiid. Sorry, bud.
I
Yeah,
like Joel so much too,
I
but
think-
just everything sucks about.
I think the Morey Harden marriage is just gonna keep going. He's gonna be there for a while. But I've told Eric the conspiracy is that Harden at 38 will end up back in Houston on a vet minimum and just ride the bench as Jalen Green led Rockets go to a championship. And that's how he gets his Jordan making his appearance streaming from the stream team, BCMG stream team. Jordan Lowell
and then
TV,
you
go
like
check him out
that
on Twitch.
kink and that's
Yeah, I thought that was fucking hilarious. Let's talk about the last one. We have a Rockets theme going for tonight's episode before draft next week. And by the way, I forgot to even mention him. That's right. That's Plus Walker in the comments saying Reg loves Harden and ew and 100%. That's right. That is the man, the myth, legend. Plus Walker. He'll be here for the NBA draft war room for the Rockets next Thursday at La Casa de Silva. Let's go over to Russell Westbrook in LA. Guys, I think he's just stuck there. But I have my rumor. I have what I would love to see is that Irving ends up in Chicago, Levine ends up in Portland, Westbrook ends up in Brooklyn, and Wall ends up in LA. But realistically, right, without that carousel of madness, where does is Westbrook just stuck in LA? I'll start this one with you, Kenny, since it's your team.
if Russell Westbrook is on our team come opening tip, I'm not watching a game next year.
Wait, you're a Rockets fan though at that point, right? Like what you're saying
like I'm just fully hopping on. Like if I want to watch a team tank, like I want to watch a team tank with young players.
There you go.
Because the Lakers at that point are just tanking with old players. Like it blows my mind how badly we botched the last year. And it made me so mad when we did that last year. We have no perimeter defense still. No end in sight of how bad this could be. And so, yeah, if Russ is there, like, I might tune in like January and be like, oh, how's things looking? And then I'll probably shut it off after 10 minutes. So.
Yeah, like if Griffin and Banchero goes to Houston, Kenny and I will be riding the Rockets hype train all year.
I'll do Rockets lives like every game and just sit there and watch Rockets games. Like, I don't even care if you're losing by 30. I could at least watch guys that can run up and down the court still.
I might be very hyped for next season now. I might even just want this season to be over. Eric, what do you think? Westbrook stuck in LA?
Unfortunately, he is. I don't know where he'll go. He's stuck there. And Kenny, I hate to say this, but we could watch opening tip. Together. You're going to see him start in point guard, Russell Westbrook.
God.
I am so hyped to say that LA may hit a wall and literally mean wall later on this season. All right, guys, let's move on. You might have heard me mention it a couple of times, but the BCMG stream team is alive and well and doing wonderful things. We've added 2 more streamers this week, and we bump our number past the 20 mark. If you haven't checked out the BCMG stream team, go check them out today. That's right. You just saw Jordan Lowell TV on Twitch. We have Smashly Gaming, who just came back to BCMG on Facebook, as well as Mama Bear 1920 to feature for tonight. Go check them out. Here's a little preview on what our streamers do.
And then you can access your stream deck with your mind. Dim our key lights, bro.
Connect to your stream deck via catheter.
Oh! Yo! Clip that! Clip that headshot!
On the ladder.
You got both of us.
One more down.
I got it.
Finish
Yo! No fucking way! Let's go! Yo, that guy in the heli, he was all the way across the map!
I think they've shut the door on these people.
Oh my god! That flick!
Tough battle.
Get him!
Got him!
Beautiful!
Another handful down.
That's it. Okay.
See?
Oh my! You just died? No, someone fucking walked into the room that I was in as I was about to walk out and scared the fuck. You yelled.
All right, let's jump right back into the war room. The final 10-minute countdown. That's right, the BCMG stream team. Go check them out today. Tons of great content. BlueCollarMG.com to go see all the names you can look for on Twitch and Facebook Gaming. The NBA Draft War Room. We have been teetering with who we think's going 1, 2, 3. We also have been talking about Jaden Ivey. Let's talk number 1 overall. I think we all have different selections for this, but I could be wrong. If you are the Orlando Magic GM, we've had time to think about it, right? Who do you pick at number 1? Here's your final offer because there's no show next week. Who do you pick number 1 overall? Kenny, who's your selection?
It's Jabari Smith, and it's not close. I think it's actually pretty obvious that he's going to go 1.
All right. So Kenny says Jabari Smith, and there's no other option but that. What about you, Eric?
Likewise, I say Jabari Smith. I'm gonna follow Kenny.
Come on, you're not even gonna teeter a little bit from Kenny?
It just look. I cannot see Chet going number 1. I honestly feel like Chet might fall down, and I don't think you're gonna like me saying this is gonna be bold, but I can see him falling down maybe after 3. I don't see. He's too skinny for this NBA. He needs to put massive weight. He needs to learn maybe a little bit better at a jump shot because he won't be able to bully down there. He looks like another DeAndre Ayton because that's what DeAndre Ayton looked like. All he had is just long arms. He's able to dunk it, and now he's developing a jump shot.
So plus says Jabari, and it's a mistake. And so I'm going to play devil's advocate with this because I'm not going to put Jabari number 1 overall for my selection for the Magic. It's Chet Holmgren. Chet goes number 1 to Orlando. You keep 2 Gonzaga guys coming from systems they played with. They didn't play together, but they come from systems they play with who have familiarity, and you plug them on a team and you build around the core.
I just think I think it's really dumb, but it's Orlando.
Yeah. Yeah, and they absolutely want to go big knowing Mo Bamba's out.
That there's no definites in this. Just because he's minus 500 doesn't mean that he's going. But if you're Orlando and you've got Mo Bamba and Wendell Carter and you decide we're also going to draft Chet Holmgren, then boy, I don't know what you're thinking at this point. You have to go wing player. I know that you basically just have Mo Wagner, who they want to play at the 4, and Smith plays the 3, and it slots in perfectly with what you want to do. So I think that's why he should go.
But you got to think that Chet can play 4 because he's not going to be bulky first year. So
yeah, but he plays 4 might be worse. I'd almost rather have him at 5.
But I guess to an extent, right? Because he's not going to be able to pair up with the Joel Embiids of the world, right? He's going to get bullied. And so you play him at 4 defensively, and then who you put at 5, like a Chuck Hayes guy. But my thing is, look, Mo Bamba is going to demand money, and if I'm the Magic and I can't afford it, I'm picking Chet all day.
Well, they won't pay him because they've already paid Wendell Carter, or someone paid Wendell Carter, as far as I know, for the next number of years. So they wouldn't want to pay him moving forward.
Yeah, even though it's the wrong choice because that's a Texas Longhorn. Let's move on. The Oklahoma City Thunder are at number 2. And for me, it's a different board already than Kenny and Eric. But guys, you're the Thunder. You're looking at the top picks overall. Who are you taking? Eric?
I'll take. I mean, I feel like Chet's going to go down, but Chet's going to go at 2.
Chet at number 2 for the Thunder for you, Eric. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. It just, I mean, if you're looking at the draft board right now, they don't have another big man. So unless they decide to trade one of their picks, maybe. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I'm saying. So you're saying Oklahoma City Thunder either take 2 at Chet or trade down?
Trade down and pick up someone. Pick up a big man. I'm telling you, I don't have that much confidence in Chet.
So Chet goes number 2 to OKC, but Eric doesn't like Chet. Kenny.
Yeah, Chet's number 3 on my board, but I think he goes at 2. So they currently have 1 center on the roster. 1 center. Because it's Pokusevski.
Yeah.
Because, like, unless you want to call Derek Favors a center, but I consider him more of a 4, I think you have to take Chet. Like, you're just filled with guards and, like, guys that want to play the 3 spot. Like, what are you going to do? Play Paolo at 4 and Pokashevsky at 5? Like,
I like that.
I just think it's so obvious that it has to be Chet here, but, like, I don't necessarily agree as much on the size thing because I do think that he will put on the weight, and the thing that helps him is the fact that he has a handle for a big man. Like, I think he's going to be okay offensively, and he'll still get his blocks because I think he's very crafty in the way that he does it. He doesn't jump off his feet going for swats. Like, he plays it really well, feet on the ground. Like, so I think Chet's going to be fine. Like, I don't think he's the best player in this draft, but OKC should take him.
Yeah, and for me, it's Jabari Smith for the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think if Jabari doesn't get selected at 1, OKC says, hallelujah, taking the star, the next KD, the next big name. What are you thinking, Magic? This is Michael Jordan falling the 2 all over again. We're taking Jabari Smith, and they're going to pick too big of a name to take a risk on anybody else if Chet has gone at 1 to the Orlando Magic. And that takes us to our number 3 spot, which is our favorite pick, really. That's really where everybody wants to be, is number 3. And the Houston Rockets own that number 3 pick overall. That is correct. The Houston Rockets then go on the clock and say, guys, the guy that we have number 1 on our board anyways, that's right, Paolo Banchero ends up in our lap here at number 3 on my big board. He's number 3, the best player overall, going to a position where right now, looks like it's set in stone. He met with Rafael Stone today, and all of a sudden Christian Wood gets traded. Coincidence? I think not. So Banchero is going to absolutely be a Houston Rocket, and that means Alperen Sengun, the 3rd place overall Rookie of the Year candidate, will be the starting center for the Houston Rockets next season, and right next to him is Paolo Banchero. Kenny, going to go to you first on this one. Who's the number 3, and who is the Rockets taking at number 3 overall?
The writing's on the wall. If Chet goes at 2, Paolo goes at 3. Paolo goes at 2, Chet goes at 3. So because of the way that I did it, Paolo goes at 3. You don't make this trade unless you're bringing in a power forward or a center. Oh, convenient that those 2 are a power forward and a center.
By the way, Paolo Banchero measured in 6'10.5" barefoot today. Eric.
Paolo's going to go to Houston. I mean, like to your point, it's a stone we've been talking about for weeks. I don't see him dropping or moving. But who knows? NBA draft night surprise. Surprises happen all the time.
I love the NBA draft. It's one of my favorite nights of the year. One thing I want to talk to, we're only going to talk Big 3 tonight. That's where our war room is going. Hold on. I'm not done yet. We are going to talk 4, and this has been a controversy across a couple of different platforms, but is Jaden Ivey a lock at number 4? A lot of people are saying no, including Kenny, which is interesting. So let's talk about it, Kenny, because you rumored on a prior show, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, that Ivey could fall hard in this because not very many people need that position. Talk to everybody and give us some logic.
Why would Sacramento draft a point guard?
I agree.
With Davion Mitchell and with De'Aaron Fox. Why would Detroit draft a point guard after they drafted a point guard the last 2 drafts? Why would Indiana draft a point guard with Brogdon and Tyrese Halliburton there? Why would Portland draft a point guard when you have Damian Lillard? New Orleans at 8? Now, I think if we're talking about teams moving up, like a Knicks or somebody like that, they move up to take Ivy. Like, I think what I could even see is New York's at 11. Maybe they see that he's starting to tumble, but they want to make sure that they get him. They don't want to wait for the Pelicans, so they trade up with Portland. And Portland trades back a couple picks. You take Ivy at 7. So that way New Orleans can't.
Okay, Kenny. Jaden Ivey's falling in the draft. Before I go to you, Eric, on this. Jaden Ivey's falling in the draft. You hold the number 7 pick as the Portland Trailblazers, and the Houston Rockets call you with 17-26, Eric Gordon and Jae'Sean Tate.
It shouldn't take that much to get that pick.
But let's just say Eric Gordon then.
No, I think the trade is 17, 26, and Tate. might not even have to throw in Tate. Honestly, if you're Portland, you trade back and get 2 first-rounders when you're rumored to be rebuilding.
You think pick swaps would be enough for that pick?
Pick swaps and a young guy. You have plenty of them. You've got 17 young guys. So kind of a take your pick outside of the top 5.
I'm going to go to my outside debate because my outside debate's coming into the lab. So here we go. Sengun has to improve at the 5.
Here, wait, I got to pop out.
Okay. Agree that Ivy should fall, but Sacramento is pretty dumb. That is true, right? We've seen them draft like 5 centers in a row in the teen years. And plus also says they would want Tate. I completely agree. I maybe I was giving too much. I was just thinking contract wise, it gets a lot off the books for 2023. I'm trying to sign 2 max guys in my show here. And Reg says absolutely not that the Trailblazers would not make that trade. Reg, fill us in. Why wouldn't the Trailblazers trade 7 back for 17 and 26 and tell us what it would take to get to 7? I would love to hear that, bud. But to me, there's logic in this. Now, Eric, for you, is Ivy a lock at 4, or do you agree with Kenny's logic that he would fall?
I agree with Kenny's logic. Just too many guards. I mean, same thing. I'm looking at the mock draft right now. I could see even Benedict falling as well. But I mean, if the Rockets don't come in at 7, and get that draft pick, I could see Portland getting Ivy. And the reason is because they're rumored to rebuild, but the issue is who's going to pick up Dame, right? What are they going to get back in return? But see what happens.
Well, it turns to that: are they in win now mode, or are they in the win later mode? Right.
What I see, it's more of a win later mode. It's not a win now. If it was a win now, then they will be getting different players trading that 7th round pick, and possibly if they do trade it to the Rockets, right? They need to trade that 7, possibly the 26th pick, and get a decent player. To what Reg said, they need a wing, right? Who are they going to pick up with that 26?
Yeah, that would be a fantastic. So I'm going to go back and post because Reg did put on here his comment, and it was, Portland does need a wing, right? And in his opinion, and that let's read this right. They are going to get rid of Lillard and see what happens. Okay, I don't know if they're selling Lillard. To me, it seems like Lillard is staying in Portland. They're going to continue to build around him. So if that's the case, then technically they would want to keep the 7 and try to trade Lillard to get another piece to pair with the 7, because Jaden Ivey could be sitting there at 7. But if Lillard is the guy, and that's spot on, 7 for 17, 26, and Tate, I think that is the trade. I think that's the trade Stone has on the table right now. If the scenario comes out that that Jaden Ivey has fallen, draft night, we see the breaking news alert, and Reg, Pless, or Chris Borak, we will all be together that night in the Rockets war room here in San Antonio. Hopefully we're all here together that night, and we will be watching for that breaking news alert that the Rockets have traded for number 7. I think this gets the deal done. If the Blazers are looking to get a wing, they don't need a point guard because they have Damian Lillard already. Why not give the Rockets what they need in a true scoring point guard, and get that wing in Jae'Sean Tate, and then you have 2 more picks in the draft that at lower contract costs for your team. Kenny, welcome back to the show. This is Into Lab covering the Rockets war room, talking about what that package of picks might be. And Plus says someone needs to teach Reg how to speak English. This was from Reg while you're out, Kenny. Reg says that they are in a get rid of Lillard and see what happens mode right now in Portland, saying that they're in complete rebuild. I just haven't seen it yet.
No.
So this is the trade on the table. Kenny, if you're Portland, do you take it?
Yeah, I take it. I think you still get 2 first-round picks. You get Tate, who's a guy that can play right away. I don't know. I think that's the pick that gets traded in the first round, because if we're talking about what should happen based off of if that's the consensus top 3, then Ivy's falling.
Right.
And if a team really loves him that much, like the only team that I see before New Orleans that could potentially do it would be Indiana. And it's only if you're sold on the fact that you're selling Brogdon and you want to play like Tyrese at the 2. Like that's the only way that I really see it happening. So I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot of wing guys that kind of go in that like 4 to 10 range. And it's a very like good wing draft. To be honest, if I was an NBA GM, I'd draft a wing every single year. Like I just think you can't have enough guys that play 2 through 4 for your team. So I think you have plenty of those guys here. Sacramento, especially, like, oh my God, their wing is just, it's Harrison Barnes. Like, that's it. So I do think that would be enough for the Rockets to move up, but I don't think they necessarily need to move up to 7 anyways. Like, I really don't think that you have to move up and get that pick because
I just
because Ivy doesn't fit. So, like, are you moving up to draft someone else?
No, Ivy's a fit. Ivy's a fit.
You think he's the fit?
Yeah, I do. Ivy with the ball in his hands, he's a playmaker. He leads the second unit. He's a fit right in the beginning. And
can I tell you what I think Ivy actually is? Like,
it's
probably a hot take.
Okay.
I think he's worse Lonzo Ball.
Oh no.
No. Okay, now let's talk about what he actually is coming into the draft.
Okay.
He's a guy with a flawed form on his jump shot that's very inconsistent. Who had that coming out of college? Still kind of has that now. Like the form, it's gotten better, but it hasn't. Markelle Fultz also had that issue as well. And he's an athletic point guard that likes to distribute. Is that not Lonzo?
Similar. I just think there's
pretty good
more
defender.
But okay, so if we take that aspect though, who was when I watched Jaden Ivey play in college, there was a clutch factor, there was a ball handling, playmaking factor. I mean, he showcased that ability in college.
Lonzo showed that too.
I think it was a bit higher than Lonzo though.
Lonzo when he's hitting step backs against Oregon, when he's doing like he was a dude on a good team on an offense that played very fast, which is what Ivy did. The only difference is Ivy played in a system with Trevion Williams and Zach Edey, who are both very tall guys, so it could make things a bit cluttered. So all
if we
I'm
go back
saying
to my
is,
original take then, and you make this trade and draft Griffin.
Yes, like to me, I don't know, like you already have Jalen Green and you have Kevin Porter Jr. Like I still think you give that another year to figure out, like, is either of these guys going to play point? Like, I think it's more likely Kevin Porter Jr., but let's see what happens one more year of him. And then you just, in a very good wing draft, get more wing depth because I don't think that you can have enough of it. Like, I don't know. Like maybe it's just me being pessimistic because when I watch players, like I'm looking at like, okay, everyone loves to talk about who they are or like what their potential is, but like, what is the downside? Like, what is where they could end up, and I don't love where they could end up. And to me, that's where Ivy ends up. So
I guess the last debate for the show for tonight, because we've run out of time and we're not going to go into the Rockets roster tonight, but that's unfortunate. I know you guys are really upset. We can talk contracts though after the draft to really see what those contracts look like, and after all the trades. The better fit would be AJ Griffin or Jaden Ivey at this point if the Rockets did jump to 7, right? And is Griffin worth losing Jae'Sean Tate and 2 picks to grab? And is that enough for your fillback of Christian Wood? Because that's essentially grading your Christian Wood trade is who you draft in this draft. And so is AJ Griffin worth it at 7? And that comes back to, does him and Paolo obviously having that chemistry from Duke fit right into the Houston Rockets system with Silas? Because obviously Silas is long-term. If you heard some of the recent quotes from Gerald Green, that guy's just embedded in the culture. He's staying for a while. So if that's the case, I guess this is your last case here, Kenny. Griffin or Ivy, if you're the Houston Rockets and you make that trade up to 7.
It's Griffin, and I don't think that it should necessarily be close. Like, I think Griffin showed you in college that he had the injury early on, but then after that, he showed a ton of flashes of like being able to drive. He's a great standstill 3-point shooter. Like, I think there's a lot there with him, well coached as well. And so I think with what Houston wants to do, I think Griffin's the better fit. Like, And to me, Ivy's tumbling down the board. Like, I think at 4, you're looking at Mathurin going. At 5, you're probably looking at Shaden Sharp, because if you're Detroit, you probably need a shooting guard or a wing. That's where he fits in well. And then you start to get into 6, 7, and you're like, maybe that's the guy that's still there is AJ Griffin. Like, I've seen him as low as 12. I've seen him as high as 7.
Yeah. I've seen him drop into the teens. Okay. All right. Eric, your last take. Griffin or Ivy, if you had to choose one for the Rockets.
Griffin, just because of the Duke connection. They played together. They know how to play together. They're going to go into the Rockets and be great. I mean, shoot, I might be a Rocket fan next year.
Hey, there's 3 already here on the screen. Reg says it's Ivy over Griffin in every way, shape or form. I think from a talent perspective, you might be right, Reg. Not in every aspect, but in most. I think Ivy is a more talented player. But I think fit and chemistry and system, I think Griffin's the guy. I mentioned earlier in the show, once we finish, watch the replay, go back to our earlier takes about Duke-Houston matchup and why Kenny's going to be a future co-host on the show. Reg, I want to read your take from the Lillard debate. Why not keep Lillard to basically stay out of the playoffs again? Heck no, trade him and get players. The logic is sound. I just don't know what team does it. And if you're gonna go and get out, maybe Lillard to LA actually makes sense. Bring Westbrook to a team that's not going to win because he's not going to help you win. So that might be something that Kenny might be enjoying some Lakers basketball after all of that trade were to happen. Just don't know why Portland would do it.
Basketball. Also, we can't rule out the fact that Portland has about close to 50 mil of cap space. Yep. Can't rule that out.
And Nurkic is not on that team anymore, so they got to sign him or just decide not to.
Ingles is done. Nurkic is done. They'll have to extend Simons, but there's nothing that says that they can't go and add one more piece and really make a run again with this team.
Well, guys, that is tonight's episode from the NBA War Room episode on Into the Lab. We really appreciate you guys coming out. We are not going to forget this week. That's right. Last but not least, the BCMG guarantee is here and fine and well and dandy. Kenny's looking up his pick for this one, but I've got you guys right here. I'm going to make Reg smile a little bit. I did not give him a chance to win tonight, so I'm going to give him a chance to win right here. Reg, just for you, I am looking up what the spread is for the game tomorrow. I'm taking Celtics -4 at home, game 6 on their home floor. Tatum hits 35. We're going to game 7 to Golden State. We're heading back to California. Reg, that is for you. Give you a win tonight. And so Celtics make the first list on the parlay for this week. Kenny, what's the second pick?
Can I do an NBA draft prop?
Why not?
Who drafts at 4 again? It's Sacramento, right?
It is It is Sacramento.
+600, 4th overall pick, Shaden Sharp.
Wow. Whoa. Shaden Sharp +600. Gonna add that to the ticket. Eric.
I'm gonna go off of your basketball one. I'm gonna say Andrew Wiggins over 18.5.
I thought that he was going to say Andrew Wiggins Finals MVP. I was like, okay.
Hey, that too. That too. And
+1,600 on Andrew Wiggins Finals MVP.
I'm gonna make this interesting too. Ernest, if you want to add it, Green makes his first 3 tomorrow.
Yeah, Green first 3-pointer or not first 3-pointer of the game, but his first 3-pointer of the series. Andrew Wiggins over 18.5. Kenny says +600 for Sharp at 4. And we are taking the Celtics to cover -4. Put that in a parlay, bag it somewhere in some back end sort of.
Also, this needs to be noted because when we talked last time when we were on the show, remember how Jabari Smith was -500 to be first overall? The odds on him to be first overall now are -150.
What I say about the Chet train? It's coming, guys. It's coming.
So this is what we do. My parlay that I'll put in for the show is Andrew Wiggins Finals MVP with Jabari Smith 1, Chet 2, Paolo 3, and Shaden Sharp 4. $10 to win 4,300.
There you go. Easy money. Chump change for most. Chump change for most.
If,
Kenny,
if that hits, I'm coming to Boston.
Oh, there you go. You've heard it here. That's breaking. That's like the 4th breaking news for you, Kenny. Oh my goodness, you're on a roll.
You notice how I keep doing parlays that are like +40,000 to hit?
I will
One of
tell you
them
this
would hit.
before we get off, and I let you guys sign off. I did a parlay, a prop bet parlay with Jason Tatum last game, and I was very close until he just bombed the fourth quarter, and it didn't happen. But I needed 35, 11, and 9, and a Boston to cover 3.5, and they were I think they were up by 1 or down by 1 going into the third, and he had
Yeah, you sent me that.
22, and he had 11. Or he had 22, 10, and 8 or something. I was so close, and that was 7,600 to pay out. And it was just ridiculous, and I was so close. Anyways, Eric, tell the people where they can find you.
You can find me on Twitter at EricDigital94. I'll be coming on the show quite frequently. There's no show next week, like Ernest said. So me and my co-host Kenny will be hosting next week. Breaking news. I don't know if you want to sound the alarm for that, but
Absolutely.
but
Absolutely.
You can find me on EricDigital94 on Twitter.
ITL going crazy next week. ITL going crazy. Kenny, talk to people where they can see you daily.
So Eric will be hosting solo next week because I'm hosting my own draft show next week. You can follow me on social platforms at CompEdgePod. Wrote an article today talking about the U.S. Open, coming off a 16-unit week there on the golf side. And then haven't been hitting on a lot of our parlays and props lately, been on a bit of a cooler, but nonetheless, we'll be live tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time and on weekends at 11 a.m. Eastern time to chat some sports. And as always, it's a ton of fun, Ernest, and I will see you next week.
Hey, absolutely, brother. Thank you guys for coming on. I'm your host, Ernest Silva. Add into Lab Pod is where you find all my socials at the Sport Gene on Twitch. Guys, appreciate everything. Hope you guys have a great night. Good luck on your bets this week. Go Houston as we see some of those trades go in, and we got 2 new Rockets fans in the building. You guys, NBA War Room is over. No episode next week. We'll see you in 2, but enjoy the draft next week. Happy birthday to me. Bye. Absolutely.